And so, here we are, back on the battlefield of trying to dodge demonetization because YouTube thinks I'm trying to re-upload Arcane. But this time I have an advantage. This time I'm on screen to cover the frame. So, as we mentioned in the last video, there is a lot of news that started pouring our way. We already talked about all the league-related news, minus the froggy skins, I forgot to mention those. Which means that today we only have one job: to explain the crap out of the teaser for Arcane 2. And you better believe that there is a chance that your mind might get blown by how far we can get. In fact, you can dissect so much that some of this information is bordering spoilers. And there is one cool fact that I'm saving for the end of the video, just in case everyone wants to go purely blind and spoiler-free into this. Everything else should be fine. There is a bunch of references, and in case something looks like a spoiler, we know how Riot handled Arcane 1. It is not gonna be a spoiler, it will be a misdirection. So don't worry, even if you watch all the trailers, you're gonna be fine. But now, with all of this mentioned, let's have a look at the teaser. It all starts with a bunch of enforcers navigating Piltover ruins. It should be obvious to just about everyone that these should be the ruins from the explosion that Jinx caused at the end of Arcane Season 1. What's cool, however, is that this shot is also referencing the bridge from the very beginning of Season 1. It all started with red light, bunch of ruins and enforcer walking around, and that's how the first teaser started too. So even when it comes to the teasers themselves, Arcane is already full of Easter eggs. Anyway, then we have Ambessa talking about how the council is dead, which, that's referencing what happened at the end of Season 1, and the scene zooms on this specific table. Of course, we still have no idea who survived the end of Season 1, but we'll get to this specific table at the end of this video. We can then see Vi walking past a lot of the dead goons who are wearing the Chemtech turbo tanks. These are the same guys Vi and Jace previously fought together, and then the shot zooms out to show us the Piltover sigil, which could suggest that all of this happened at the end of Season 1, but I think this is teasing a whole different battle and a whole different explosion. Because as far as I know, there shouldn't be any Chemtech turbo tanks around that area when Jinx blew it up. Anyway, then the shot goes to Ambessa Medarda, who puts on what seems to be her battle armor. Or at least, I think it would be more of a commander uniform. I mean, I have no doubt we would be able to find Ambessa on the front lines. She is a Noxian after all. But if you look at the details, such as the shoulder pads, they do look like something you would find on a diplomat or a leader. Not necessarily a warrior, because we do know how Noxians like to armor up. Also, since Ambessa was confirmed to be coming as a playable champion to League of Legends, it is likely that this is what she is going to look like when she gets into the game. Now here we also have to mention that normally Noxians like to wear dark metal. Gold is not typical for them, so it's possible that she's wearing this because she will be representing Piltover. Or at the very least, she is going to fight for it. Which would suggest that she is going to be the leader of Clan Medarda in Piltover, which might be also suggesting that Mel is not gonna make it. But again, just remember that Arcane was always amazing at misdirections. All of these are blind guesses and most of them will be wrong. Also, Ambessa mentioned that Wrath shall be met with Wrath, so she is ready to fight for Piltover and take partial control of it. Also, she's ready to use her forces to fight Piltover's enemies, which would be the Zaunite Barons or even Jinx. After which we get this beautiful shot of a Zeppelin entering in through the clouds. And since it is being framed with red light, it almost suggests that this is how the Noxian army enters Piltover. I mean, remember, Ambessa entered Piltover through a Zeppelin as well. Although there is another detail later that might disprove this. Then we get a quick shot of Vi, simply in the middle of chaos, and all of it has the same red lighting which we have seen at the very beginning of this teaser, so it might be happening right after the council blew up. After which we get a reveal that the Noxian armies made it to Piltover. But more importantly, they are lining up in front of the Piltover enforcers. So it seems likely that Caitlyn and Ambessa were forced to fight together. Also, this is followed by Ambessa saying that she will give them justice. Now, we don't really know who she is talking to, but the scene shows us Caitlyn, and it is possible it is just misdirection. So we still don't know if anyone from the council actually survived. And here we can also see that Caitlyn's face is still bruised, which means it is happening soon after the end of Season 1. Also, the guy behind her is the shield guy we saw in the first teaser. Funnily enough, that shot of the entire squad lining up did not even appear in this teaser. And yes, then they finally reveal Caitlyn's new rifle. It is the one that is based on Hextech. It also has all the scopes that Caitlyn is known for now, but also it has the net launcher, so be ready for Caitlyn to net people up. After which we also get a very quick flash of Vi's new repaired Atlas gauntlets. Because remember, last time she used them, they were destroyed by Savika. And then we get the shot where it is revealed that Vi joined the Sheriff of Piltover, because she is wearing what is considered to be the Sheriff's badge. Which should also mean that Caitlyn is the new Sheriff, which makes sense because there is no one else left. After which we get more of the Chemtech goons dropping in from the sky. Which makes me think, maybe the previous Zeppelin wasn't Noxian. Maybe it belonged to one of the Cam Barons, which is why they are now dropping from the sky. I mean, where else would they be falling from? And they seem to be falling onto some kind of a city hall, because you can see a crowd gathering around it. Although I do believe it might be the Enforcers' headquarters. Because when they drop down, they go straight for the Enforcers. And even strategically, it would make sense because everyone else is gone from the Enforcers. This is the only important point in Piltover right now. Anyway, then we can see the Enforcers getting ready to fight the Zaunites, and we can see Caitlyn in her new commander uniform. She doesn't have the top hat yet, because that one actually comes from a different story in the future, unless something gets retconned. So instead, she gets the beret, which is referencing her newer design in Legends of Runeterra. We can then see what seems to be the Enforcers entering Zaun, because behind them that seems to be the elevators that Vi and Jinx used to get to Zaun at the very beginning of the series. And then we can see the wanted poster of Jinx. Notably, notice that she is drawn with blue eyes, which means people don't really know that she is a shimmer-infused freak now. Also, I think one of the other hidden posters here is referencing the composer, which is not Jin, as people speculated. This is actually a reference to the composer of Arcane's original score, if I'm not mistaken. And then we get a shot of Vi running past some pillars with Jinx's graffiti. This is actually a scene that reappears later, and here she steps on a pressure plate and it activates the chompers, which of course we all know from the game. We can also see that right before they explode, Vi is raising up her gauntlet to defend herself. This could be referencing the shield that Vi gets in the game. So it is possible that in this series she gets another defensive gadget. I mean, if they want to keep everything canon, that is what should happen. After which the explosion cuts to a different scene where you can see a lot of characters you might recognize. Namely, we can see one of Ambessa's personal bodyguards. You may remember this guy from all the naked bathtub scenes. And in the front, you can see the Bat person from Ekko Squad. Which suggests that perhaps all of these get to team up, unless the Bat guy just got captured. We can then see the Enforcers surrounding Singed. It is possible that this is the scene where we get to learn about Warwick. That's gonna be a really important storyline this time around. And we can see that Savika is back as well, and she's holding Jinx's gun. As far as we know, she should be in charge of the last drop bar. Simply because, again, everyone else is gone. So maybe she is holding onto the gun as the last memory of Silco. Then there is a quick shot of an even bigger Chemtech Hulk. And then we get to see Smeech with some of the other lesser barons. You may remember this guy as part of the Baron Council during the scene where Silco just converted everyone into his agents. Which is why this is when Caitlyn mentioned that they are there to eliminate all of Silco's agents. And as she does that, we get to this statue, which led to a lot of speculations. Some people thought this was Janna because she has a lot of lore in ancient Zaun, and others thought it would be Corina Veraza, another really important Baron. Not to mention someone like Renata Glask. Well, the reality is, this is Margot, another Baron who was also previously on the Zaunite Council. Though she didn't really have a role in Arcane 1, she was very much a background character. And we know it's her because of the piercings on her chin and her forehead, as well as the metal patch on her nose. So if Smeech is against her here, it means that maybe some Barons turned against Zaun too. After which we get a quick shot of Ambessa commanding an attack, which seems to be a flashback because you can see arrows flying by. And to be honest, I don't think arrows would be that effective against modern-day Piltover and Zaun. Then we get a quick shot of Smeech charging forward, but what's interesting is what is behind him. You can actually see Jinx and a random kid just standing there. Which also makes it feel like Smeech is Jinx's pet or something. After which, Smeech reveals his dope augments, and make sure you remember what these arms look like. Because then it cuts to Sevika, who also has a cool new arm. This time around, instead of her blades, she has a shark jaw instead of her arm. But here's the thing, even though it has Jinx's graffiti on it, and it really seems to be built by Jinx, I do believe this was a prank. I don't think Sevika is working with Jinx, because not only does the jaw seem to be moving on its own, and it is just spewing out weird liquid, but also at the very last frame you can see that Sevika is fighting Smeech, who should be on Jinx's side. But again, remember, all of this could be wrong, because Riot are really good at misdirection when it comes to these trailers, and it's possible that these shots are just out of order, so the context might be totally different. If there is one thing to take away from this, Sevika still probably doesn't like Jinx. After which we get to a very strange shot. And as you can see here, that's Victor Skane. So he's still around, as he should be, and now I'm wondering, is the other person Rise? Because they are all cloaked figures, and that seems to be arcane magic. Then there is a quick shot that reveals that Ekko is, of course, back too. And we get a mural of Jinx, who seems to be portrayed as a hero here. I mean, from the perspective of the Zaunites, she did just destroy the Council of Tyranny, so it all makes sense. What's cool is that here, as she's holding the blue flag, it might be referencing Jinx previously holding up the blue flare, but also the picture itself gave her a halo and wings, which makes her almost look like a worshipped savior. Not to mention it could all be relating to Janna being the ancient matron of Zaun. I wouldn't be surprised if some people thought she was a reincarnation. Also, I would not be surprised if this meant that the Inks are canon now. For those of you who don't know, the Inks are a group of people who just really like Jinx, and they appeared in the Convergence game. Then there is a quick explosion around the borders between Zaun and Piltover. There is a zoom in at what either seems to be Rise or more likely Victor now. And then the shot goes back to Vi, where she says that her sister is gone. Which is a reference to her line from Season 1, where she said that her sister is still somewhere inside her. Also, in case you didn't notice this from the previous shots, Vi is now wearing Clagger's goggles. We still don't know why, maybe she raided Jinx's stash and just got them somewhere from there, but either way, it is really cool. Then there is a shot of Heimerdinger witnessing what could be seen as arcane magic. Then there is a really cool teaser of Warwick, and for those of you who know the story of Warwick, you know that things are about to get very brutal. Then we can see Caitlyn finally firing her new rifle, And as you can see, the rifle is actually using Hextech bullets. The fun part about that is that is exactly what Heimerdinger warned everyone about. He said that the moment Hextech gets weaponized, everything's gonna be horrible. And then we get the last scene after the title drop. We have Vi calling out for Jinx instead of Powder, which is how she called her last time they met. And you can see they are in the same room with the graffitied pillars, which is where Vi triggered the chompers. And then, for just a moment, we can see all the pillars and the back of the room. First of all, at the back, you can actually see a painting of Janna, which means this scene is at the bottom of Zaun, because Janna used to be worshipped as a goddess here. But also, on the pillars around, you can see snippets of Jinx's life. You can see Vander taking care of Jinx and Vi. You can see things on fire, which is likely where their parents died, unless that's the disaster that Jinx caused. And perhaps those two scary things are the graffiti representing her parents, which is what we saw in Season 1-2. Also, is that a skull crab? I'm confused. Anyway, as the two have a face-off, we can see more of these. You can see one where there is a monkey holding dynamite, and you can see Milo and Clagger crossed off. So that one is depicting the accident. Also, the thing that I thought would be a scuttle crab, I still have no idea what that is. And that is where the teaser ends. Honestly, a lot of these could be considered as spoilers, but I am confident they won't be. Because during Season 1, the teasers hit the story so well I got most of my predictions wrong. And this time I am sure it will be the same, simply by just reordering the timeline. Although, as I mentioned, there is one thing that is bordering a confirmation. I do believe it is something that Arcane 2 will reveal right at the very beginning. It has to be one of the first scenes in this season. But, just in case you wanna avoid a potential spoiler, I'm warning you now. So, you remember this table? I'm not the one who found out about this, and I honestly can't find the person who did. But someone figured out that this corner desk is the one that belonged to Caitlyn's mother, which indicates that Caitlyn's mom is indeed dead. I mean, they teased that the entire council is gone, including Balbog, who was my favorite. But none of that is actually confirmed. Literally any one of them can still be alive, it's just that the overall council is not around. Although, Caitlyn's mother is likely not gonna be one of them. And that is it for the teaser. Honestly, I am having so much fun with these again. And I am ready to know just how wrong I was. And I'm ready to go back and watch these just to see just how well Riot was able to hide the spoilers. But above all, I am ready to see the story of one of my favorite champions in League. And I just hope people are not gonna get jump scared by what happens.